Welcome to today's session. I'm Lois. I'll be chairing the session and we're delighted to have you here. Hope you find the content really helpful, not only for this peak season, but for many more peak seasons to come. So firstly, for those of you that we haven't met yet, let me introduce you to Sozo. Sozo is a full-service digital marketing agency, and we're e-commerce experts with a deep understanding of the digital retail space. In today's session, we're going to walk through the essential steps that every e-commerce business should take to maximise sales, profitability, and long-term customer value during the busiest season. And all of this is tried and tested. So we've got years of experience behind us, and we're giving away some top tips that have helped our clients to see real success. So without further ado, let me introduce you to today's panel. I'll be chairing, and I'm digital account manager here at Sozo. So working with numerous clients right now who are well in the throes of preparing for Black Friday. Next up, we've got Mark, our head of e-commerce, who will offer some insight into things that you can be doing right now to ensure that your website's ready for peak. And last but not least, we've got Tom, head of performance marketing, who's going to help today with defining your strategy and making ads work harder in peak. So just a bit of housekeeping. Today's session is being recorded. Mics and videos have been disabled though, so don't worry about that. And we'll send the recording out to you with a bunch of other resources following the webinar. We'll also have a bit of time for questions and answers at the end of the session. So please do submit them throughout. You can find the Q&A box just in the bottom right-hand side of the screen. There's 9 dots. And if you click on there, you can open up the Q&A section. Please leave your name on any questions. If we don't get around to answering them today, we will come back to you with an answer. So today's agenda is going to cover off some of the core considerations when it comes to Black Friday, from how to set your objectives to optimizing all of your content to make offers appealing but not costly. Why paid ad strategies need to be agile, why it's important to align all of your customer journeys, and really importantly, why you should always plan for the next period off the back of a busy sales season. So let's get into it. So during peak periods, demand is naturally higher, traffic volumes surge, conversion rates improve, and while ad costs typically rise, the overall cost per acquisition can drop, which can mean higher margins and more effective revenue growth. So it's more important than ever to have a really clear objective and defined KPIs in place before you launch into it all. And that without that foundation, it's all too easy to spend big and earn little. So Tom, I'm going to hand over to you and tell us more about objective setting.
Yeah, thanks, Lois. So generally speaking, in Black Friday and peak periods, you can kind of fall into one of 3 strategic categories. The common one is, high-end revenue growth, drive as much revenue as you possibly can, but there is opportunity also to maximize profit and also play in a new customer acquisition space. So those are kind of the 3 that we will cover. They are kind of interchangeable and they can cross over, but generally you will fall into one of these kind of key objectives. The main one that everybody kind of goes to in peak periods is revenue growth. This is basically prioritizing the total volume of sales that you can achieve across this period. This usually means that you're going to expect much lower margins than you would normally achieve. It's probably paired with a margin-based offer or a discounted offer. And this will drive CPAs higher. So you want to be pushing for maximum reach here, maximum total revenue. This is often about business growth on the kind of top line as opposed to the bottom line. This is a key objective that can only really be achieved in the Q4 period these days. It kind of relies on a universal market demand, i.e. everybody in the market being in the same status, at the same kind of buying situation. This is increasing year on year, so it's a key period to generate that revenue growth for the business. A little stat that we pulled out from Reuters is that UK shoppers spent 3.63 billion across Black Friday and Cyber Monday in 2024, which was actually 5.2% up year on year versus 2023. So that market is shifting and growing. So this is the opportunity to do the revenue growth piece.
Great.
And this little graph here just shows us, again, from other sources, actually how much of purchase intent clicks fell into November. You can see the blue line there is the UK. So we are disproportionately high across Europe as having commercial purchase intent specifically in November relative to the rest of the year. That's nearly 44% of all clicks being commercial intent. And this is on to the second one. So maximizing profit. This is often overlooked in favor of course, the maximizing revenue piece, but there is a great opportunity in Black Friday to just be there and maximize from kind of the conditions that are there. So while the front end costs of advertising are higher, you tend to get lots more market demand and therefore conversion rates are a lot higher. So if you're in a position where you don't even have offers there to undercut the margin, you can actually benefit from big kind of improvements in conversion rates and therefore make more on the bottom line. So that's something that is well worth considering. You don't have to always chase the revenue. Profit is equally attainable.
And what about that customer acquisition piece?
Well, just before we go into that, we've obviously got this stat that kind of I think is really important to showcase, but particularly around the conversion rate. So 2024 data from eComPay as a source shows us that Black Friday conversion rates actually rose to 5.3% versus the usual benchmark for the rest of the year, which is around 2%. So a whopping 165% increase, which is disproportionate again to the rising cost of advertising. So you can actually benefit in that space.
So sorry, I was a bit preemptive there, Tom.
Yes, okay.
Tell us a little bit about customer acquisition.
Customer acquisition, again, almost hand in hand with revenue growth, but it does apply to certain industries and certain markets. So it is, because there is so much demand in the market in one place, there's so much to go after. It can represent a great opportunity to buy in new customers, as opposed to just revenue or just profit. So it's really important to note this is viable for certain industries, as mentioned. Generally speaking, subscription-based markets or consumable-based industries where you would expect to have a naturally high LTV and repeat purchase rate as well. This is far less of a valuable strategy if you're a one-time purchase brand, or you have lower repurchase rates and things like that. So and just to kind of solidify that, on average, I think only 2.4% of newly identified customers, so basically first-party data identified customers, converted in Black Friday in 2024. And then of those who then went on to buy again, it was actually only 30%. So you're kind of talking about a very compounding, a negatively compounding volume of people that actually become valuable after Black Friday. So only play in this space if you kind of have the business setup where you're in the industry that can benefit from that kind of repeat purchase rate.
Okay, thanks, Tom. So to round up that section then, some key consideration for you here: know your margins and tailor your objective around the wider business strategy. Be prepared to be reactive with your ad spend and scale based on demand. Don't forget about the power of lifetime value or lack of. And make sure that if you're going to make a loss in Black Friday, that you can recoup that through ongoing retention. And then finally, tracking data, making sure that we've got solid KPIs in place relative to the objective and that we're tracking them on a daily basis. Okay, so moving on then to the next section of the webinar, and we're asking, what should my offer look like? Too often brands fall back on that generic discounting, 20% off site-wide or 30% off selected items. It's simple and it's easy to do, but it really does risk cutting into profit unnecessarily. So brands should be grounding their offers in data-driven unit economics, and we've got some of our clients on the webinar today that will know exactly what we're talking about. So margins, sell-through rates, lifetime value, it all comes back to knowing those numbers. So Mark, do you want to kick us off with some of those offering options, please?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Lois. So Yeah, it is a fairly common mistake that we see, that blanket discount approach. They are easy to launch and they are easy to run, but they typically are harder to profit from. They end up eroding that margin unnecessarily across your product range and don't take into account the product level performance and data that is available to merchants. It's also more likely to generally attract the bargain hunters, and it forces you into a cycle of ever increasing discounts, but not building up that longer term repeat customer base. So one alternative to that is more strategic level, SKU level discounting. So this is when you go and pick from your catalog, depending on the size, which products you are going to discount. And touching on what Tom and Lois have already said, it comes down to understanding your unit economics for those product SKUs and the historical data and analysis from past peak sales, because you want to identify which products can sustain a discount without eating into all of the margin and profit available. You also want to take into account how quickly that product or specific set of products would sell already, because if it's already a good seller at full price, then you're less likely to need to discount it. It's also worth looking at your lifetime value. So the customers who do buy that SKU, do they tend to come back and buy again? If yes, then it may be worth a deeper initial discount on that SKU to acquire more of those customers based on what they then go on to purchase. And also you want to take into account your stock. There's no point driving a lot of traffic to your site and demand for products if you then have a limited stock or you can't fulfill that particular product. And you can only do all of this if you know all your numbers and have completed the product level analysis piece. This sort of approach is the foundation for more advanced tactics, where you can grow your order value and protect margin at the same time, which leads us nicely onto the bundle stack. So this is a very effective way to increase the customer's basket size. And one of the key elements of this is typically pairing it with a bestseller or one of your hero products, as well as one or two complementary products, and then applying a bundle level discount. So a typical example might be, let's say, a headline product like a fireplace that you might pair with a couple of accessory products like logs or pebbles to give an atmospheric effect. But also you should consider creating bundles for different budget tiers as well, because not all your customers are starting from the same budget number in their heads. Some say are mentally prepared to spend, say, £65 and others over £150. So depending on your product catalog and your price point, it's worth creating bundles that are at different value points as well. The benefit of bundles is it also helps create demand and aids lead generation as well, allowing you to capture higher intent leads before the sale kicks off. And not only are you increasing your average order value, but you're then growing your audience before the sale even starts, using it as a hook and a differentiator. You can take this one step further, or an alternative approach would be a tiered spending offer. So this is relatively simple, and a controlled way to help you increase your order value without cutting into your margin necessarily for all products at exactly the same level. So instead of a flat discount, you could create a ladder of rewards, and this could be monetary. So you could have £10 off 100, 20 off 200, etc. Or it could be product led. So that could be spend £100 in a certain catalog category and then get X, or spend 200 and get Y. Or you could have non-monetary discounts, and that could be upgrades to shipping or other perks. This is then less about the margin and more about the threshold. So it's not dissimilar to a blanket discount, but it just gives you as a merchant more control and encourages a building a higher average order value, typically at a time when the average order value is going to be the lowest traditionally. The benefit of a non-monetary discount for your tiering, let's say you are doing a free product add-in, is that the cost to you of that free product or upgrade is going to be much cheaper than a flat money off discount on the order, but the perceived value to the customer will be much higher, particularly if you're selling that product typically at full price on the website anyway. If you were going to run with a monetary tiering bundle type offer, then a good starting place would be to take your current average AOV, let's say it's £45, and then add 15 to 20% on that. And that might be your first tier. So £55-ish in that case. One of the benefits of this approach is it's simple. It works across all marketing channels, and you can signpost it fairly well on your website, but it does come back to knowing your numbers.
Okay, thanks, Mark. I think some of those are really overlooked, aren't they? As everybody kind of buys into the panic selling of Black Friday. So hopefully that will really help to give you guys some focus and be more strategic in your approach to Black Friday. In terms of takeaways, I guess it's really a case of thinking beyond that blanket discount, isn't it? And using the data to drive decisions that are going to drive profit or add value or help you collect data that's going to be valuable in the long run. Thanks so much, Mark. That was really helpful. Next up then, we're looking at ad strategy. So I'm sure, as you know already, paid media in peak season is a minefield. It's a completely different beast. Markets are shifting daily, sometimes hourly, and those set and forget bidding strategies can mean massive overspend or underspend. It's so easy to do. So expect the market and your advertising to change at this time versus an evergreen kind of scenario. Cost per click is going to be higher, engagement is going to be more costly, and expect higher front end costs. It's all about adjusting bidding strategies accordingly. So Tom, I'll let you take over on that.
Yeah, thanks, Les. I think the first one, it probably seems obvious to everyone. You know, we marketing bangs on about the marketing funnel, but I think it's really prevalent to look at it in the context of the Black Friday period or a seasonal spike like this, because you can kind of manifest it much more easily. So that doesn't necessarily mean doing very heavy kind of traditional, funnels with, lots of kind of touch points and things like that. But it's just about really getting ahead of, as Lois said, what is going to be a very expensive front end advertising space in that month. Even just doing things like cold traffic at the top of the funnel, a month prior to Black Friday or November is a smart move, because not only are you able to then build manual remarketing lists that you might then manually remarket to in the period of Black Friday, it's also a great signal for the ad platforms to have previous touch points and previous data signals that it can then use when you kind of move over to being a bit more aggressive within the month itself. That's kind of your top of the funnel stuff. Get that done early. Build those signals, build those data points. And then middle funnel in this context could be as simple as just generating leads for subscriber lists that would be specifically marketed to in Black Friday. It's a lot cheaper to do that in September, October than it is to try and sell in the bottom of the funnel to somebody that doesn't know who you are come Black Friday month. And that allows you to sort of curate the message a little bit more and build more of an audience. And then all of that really leads into when the purchase will be made, which will be in the Black Friday period. Really awesome stat or graph that we got here from the Google advanced growth team a couple of weeks ago, which is just their analysis year on year, which is kind of showing the shifting demand cycle. So you can see there at the end of that graph, which is demand actually shifted 2 weeks earlier in terms of commercial led searches in 2024 versus 2023, and they expect that to have shifted again this year once they publish this data again. But just backs up kind of what we're saying is that the earlier that you move in this market, the better chance that you've got of capturing some of that research led and commercial led search data. Next one is just the importance of being agile, particularly around budgets. Having agile and flexible budgets is really key. Don't set fixed monthly budgets for the year that you then expect to distribute very accurately across the rest of the year. You need to be more agile than that, and particularly around these periods where things can move quickly. There represents a lot of opportunity in the market. Don't have budgets that won't allow you to maximize that opportunity when it arises. More consumer spend is happening in Q4 this year, even over the last couple of years, than it ever has done. So you need to ensure that your budgets are sufficient enough to reflect that demand and just don't leave anything on the table. Lois mentioned a key thing to do is measure those KPIs daily, track your data daily, because things shift very, very quickly. If you find yourself performing very well earlier in the sales cycle, push harder. Don't wait for it to run away from you. If you're generating performance, do more of it effectively, and set yourselves up for success in that way.
Mhm.
Really cool graph here, actually, that was come from a number of sources collated, but it actually shows the reverse bell curve of the Black Friday period. I mean, particularly in the UK, but many retailers or many brands even that we work with still feel that they need to launch either on Black Friday week or the week before. But actually, over the last few years, particularly from 2022, you can see that there's more of a emerging demand spike in the first weekend of Black Friday, where those early researchers who are looking for the correct deal but know exactly what they want and will just go and buy it, they are there and they are making those decisions and making those purchases. So that's a growing peak period in the month, and most people are often not ready to capitalize on that. We have some or had some who then will launch the week later, which is actually represents the lowest demand part of the Black Friday period, or the Black Friday month in this case. So being agile again, but being early, make sure all your offers and everything else is ready to go on the first, if you can. Obviously, stock permitting and other factors permitting, but interesting that is growing, and we expect that to continue to grow. It represents a great opportunity to get ahead of some potential targets that you might have for the month early doors. A big one that I see all the time as a media buyer is just adjusting your bidding strategy accordingly. The ad platforms and the algorithms that drive those will shift very quickly, or the markets within them will shift very quickly, and often they will take time to adapt. So key one here is that if we know that conversion rates are going to be 2 to 3 times higher, or we know that costs are going to be more expensive and competition is going to be aggressive, you need to ensure that you are adjusting your bidding strategies to accommodate those and capitalize on those. So if you have, let's say 500 TROAS campaign targets that you would normally work to, set those at 200. That doesn't mean that you will achieve 200. All it means is that you will be far more aggressive in a market that is moving very quickly and has the conversion rate to back it up and do better. It means that you can basically benefit from a shifting market faster than that algorithm will do itself. If you leave it, you're liable to lose a few days before it adjusts itself to that market. Likewise with CPAs, raise the CPAs, because you don't want to be cutting off basically the ability to spend and hit the targets. Next one is really getting the most from your first party data. I mentioned it in the earlier point, is that if you can feed that funnel, part of that is driving subscribers. Early doors, for example, we do this with a number of clients, is try subscriber generation via lead forms in Meta or Facebook. These are often up to 50% cheaper than a click would be in a bottom funnel campaign, and you've got yourself a first party piece of data with high intent behind that. You can see an example there. It's 42p for a first name, last name, email address, and phone number. It's good value to build good lists ahead of time that you can then market to with the right message. You can run these through from now even until the end of the period. These people will still be signing up for deals late in Black Friday, so it doesn't need to be something that you stop come end of October. It will last into November. On top of that as well, if you've got a pre-existing list of customers, email addresses, market to those with Black Friday warm-ups or curated information ahead of time. Don't just blanket bomb them with the same offer as everybody else on the day of launch. Warm them up as much as you would any new first party data piece coming in. So you can do a lot with what you already have from that side as well. And then finally on this one, creative and messaging. There's sometimes a tendency to want to overcomplicate what Black Friday is and be fancy with creative production and messaging. Don't need to do it. Being simple is key. To keep it simple, stupid is the old KISS kind of analogy there, and it really does work for Black Friday. The commercial offer just needs to be really, really loud and clear. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to kind of copy what is a very common black background or red writing, or in this instance, yellow. You can do a little bit more than that. But the main point is don't overcomplicate the message, which should be the commercial offer. study from a couple of weeks ago from a US agency did this over the last couple of years and found that when they made more complex messaging and offers compared to what they would run as just a very simple, this is our offer for Black Friday, in every single case, the simple messaging performed better than the more complex messaging. So just keep it really simple and keep it clear.
Thanks, Tom. So all about preparation, flexibility, reactivity, and just making things as easy as possible for the user. Brilliant.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've captured a user in platform and we've sent them through to the website, but there's nothing more frustrating than a disjointed experience when they get there. So we need to ensure that we're aligning our ads and the on-site experience to enable a really cohesive and easy buying experience. So Mark, this is your baby, over to you.
Thanks, Lois. Yeah, your website experience is obviously critical to this. It's where all your paid and organic traffic will land and ideally ultimately buy. And we don't want it to be the weak link in your overall strategy. And we need to make sure that each touch point in that customer journey is considered and ensure that it aligns with the original creative. During peak sale, customers expect a seamless, relevant, fast, and ultimately an easy experience on your website. If they don't get it, we risk adding confusion, hesitation, and potentially losing them back to the original ad or to a competitor as well. This starts with that early activation of the customer journey that Tom has alluded to there. As we can see, a large chunk of shoppers start browsing early in October, and we want to capture that interest as early as we can. And as Tom has alluded to, we typically work with brands to build that high intent audience ahead of time. This might take the form of meta lead generation. Here are a couple of other additional examples where you can see where we position the offer, the creative, capture the lead, and then feed that into our email marketing campaigns. The cost is typically, or could be, 50% less than a typical bottom of funnel shopping campaign cost. If you've built that anticipation early, you're in a really great place. But if you're not, there's still plenty that you can do now to build up that momentum on your website. And this is where that peak season success really starts, before your sale even begins. So you want to make sure that all of your capture mechanisms or your data capture mechanisms are in place. So you've got your newsletter signups in exchange for early access to those sales. You're utilizing the sign up for the best deal type messaging, because even now people want to know that they won't miss out on when those deals will drop over the period. Typically because there's different products that go on offer, or different bundles. If you've set that up using a bundle offer architecture, will go on at different times throughout that month. You also want to leverage any sort of VIP first look opportunities for your email subscribers and encourage them to sign up for that early access. And you've got a couple of other options as well to gain that first party data. That could be the competition or giveaway style to incentivize that audience, or locking into the scarcity messaging, whether that's genuine low stock indications, the while stock last messaging language, or tapping into that sort of fear of missing out. And then if you've built up all of that anticipation, you'll end up spending less and converting faster during the traffic surges to your site. So your offer gets them through the door, but the overall experience on your site is what keeps them there. So we want to make it absolutely impossible to miss the sale and miss the offer that you've put forward on your website. And we do need to consider every single touch point on your website to achieve this, because users will land at different points in that process. If we kickstart with the homepage and navigation, your homepage has to set the right tone, and your navigation should act as that skip button straight through to your offers. Although basic, this is often one of the most overlooked areas during a sale period. You want strong hero banners on your homepage, sale countdowns if that's appropriate, and early access call outs. And then your navigation, you want to have clear sale link opportunities presented, as well as utilizing your top announcement bar promo strip if relevant. When shoppers land on your site, they shouldn't have to hunt around for the correct section where that offer is presented. Your collection product pages, these are effectively the conversion workers of your site, and users that land directly here, having skipped the homepage, have the highest intent. We want to make sure that it's easy to filter, sort through products by price, the offer available, the popularity, reviews if you have that integrated into your store, and product use cases. And if we're running a bundle promotion, we want to make it very clear to users which products are included and which ones are not. Typically, your product pages account for over 50% of all of your traffic on your site, but often they end up having the highest bounce rates, partly because they've either got missing or unclear content on them. During the sale, we want to clearly identify products that are on offer and, importantly, the savings that are available. Even a simple Black Friday style deal tag over, say, the media gallery would go a long way, as well as featuring any offer information that is present for that particular product. And the best place to put that is in a promotional block area between the product title and add to basket button, because that's the area that gets the most visibility. It's also really important that we highlight any of the urgency cues if they are relevant for your store. So that could be stock, delivery countdowns, or offer expiry, depending on your particular setup. And also, if your website has it and you're running the feature prior to sale, or prior to activating the sale, if you have a wish list feature, we can encourage users to lock in their favorite products prior to that sale going live. The messaging around that tends to be avoid missing out on any fast moving stock, and you get customers sort of warmed up, ready to find their product and purchase it straight away. And then finally, if we look at cart and checkout, as well as pop-ups as well. So we want to make sure that the discounts are clearly applied. Often I see on websites where you add the product to cart and then the discount is not as clearly available in the mini cart or in the basket. We want to add messaging and reviews for social proof to reinforce that trust element. But also, this is a great opportunity for any last minute average order value boosters. The excitement is high in this period, and so is the impulse buy potential as well. So whether that's running from, say, a power step that's triggered after your add to basket event, or whether it's based off customers' basket contents, we can consider stacking smaller upsell offers to those customers, so pair with it or frequently bought together in an add-on grid. And then also, don't forget those pop-ups and flyouts that you're probably running at the moment, and make sure that they're updated to have creative consistency and they match the offer that you're currently running. One extra thing is, even during a sale, when a pop-up is updated just to match the sale that's running, you might think that you'd want to turn that off and not provide a subscription entry point at that point. But actually, we often see that subscriber rates actually double even when the sale's active, even though you just capture their data and direct them to the collection page, which is really powerful for that first party data. Don't just assume that the customer's noticed or is mindful enough to go ahead without being prompted. We want to make sure that that ad click all the way through to checkout is completely unified, both visually and contextually. So there's no doubt in that customer's mind that they're in the right place, they're getting the right offer, and they're on the right product. Everything might look great in isolation, but until you go through that entire journey and check, that's what converts at the end of the day.
Okay, thanks, Mark. So I'm conscious that time is running away with us and we've still got a section left to cover off. So let's move on. Yeah, looking at sorry, I've lost my train of thought and my internet connection by the looks of it. Okay, so email in particular is a brilliant channel to nurture users post-peak, but I'm interested to hear more that we can be doing after the Black Friday season has passed. So Mark, do you want to tell us a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Lois. So peak season is not just that sales spike. It's sort of, you can look at it as a springboard into that sort of more sustained growth. And you, as Lois said, you can leverage that through your email channel. So one great example of doing this is to activate and ensure you're running a post-purchase flow. So this, the idea of this is you're capitalizing on the customer's excitement right after they've placed the order. And this goes beyond just that order confirmation and shipping update email. This might take the structure over several days. So for example, on day 3, you might email that customer after they've ordered and they've received their goods, tailored product tips specific to them, or if it's a fashion products styling guide as an example. On say day 7, you might consider sending them user-generated content based on the products that they purchased, and also consider including customer reviews to help validate their purchase that they've made. This works particularly well if it's a higher value product. And then sort of around day 10, you could consider adding in a cross-sell. So at this point, you'll have the data hopefully in your CRM and ESP tool that allows you to identify whether the customer has already bought a related product. And if they haven't, we can include that related product or related category in that email to them to get that second sale. And then you could consider at day 14 as well, if you're running a loyalty program, we could invite users into that. Or we could use that as an opportunity to provide the customer with a future dated discount or a future dated offer that's going to go live, say, later in December and January, when we're looking to increase sales as well. And then finally, anywhere sort of between day 15 and 30, depending on your buying cycle, there's an opportunity to run a post-purchase survey as well. So I really like this because you get to learn why someone bought from you, how they found you, and importantly, what almost stopped them from converting with you. And often I find this yields some really good actionable insights for future campaigns and changes on the website. Oh, and also don't forget about the people who signed up but didn't buy in the first place as well. So we're able to identify those and curate offers for them as well. And yeah, just looking further into your customer segments as well. So after that rush of Black Friday, not every customer should get the same follow-up message. That's where segmentation becomes really powerful. You want to be grouping your audience down by who were your first-time buyers during that period, who were engaged returning customers, how many of those were high spenders or your classification of VIP, and how many of them were just the offer hunters. So they were below a certain average order value and they were just looking for those deals, because each of those needs different messaging, not just one email the entire audience approach. So for like those first-time buyers, you might extend an offer window, potentially giving them a reason to make that second purchase, especially if they bought a core product but then skipped on the accessories. If you've got that kind of product catalog where you've got an easy accessory route, then that's a very good way to go. For the returning or high value customers, you kind of want to focus less on discounting and more on the exclusivity side. So that might be gearing up for the next early access, or if you've got a product update cycle, there could be an upcoming product launch that we could tie into that to give them some early access on. And then for those offer hunters, it comes back to curating that offer that we spoke about at the start. So we're going to have to work really hard to convince them to have that second sale with us, whether that's a deep discount offer or a bundle or whatever it might be that we need to consider there. Oh, and finally, don't forget your content as well. So most of you probably have expansive content campaigns to work with AI overviews and your SEO strategy. That's one of the easiest ways to keep up that meaningful touch point after peak, whether that's a gift guide or how-to content or seasonal tips or product usage guides. These all help build trust and position your brand as helpful, not just purely transactional. The other thing you can do, typically you're going to see a lot of high order numbers during this period as well. So you can, most platforms, most of you probably have a review platform in place at the moment, whether that's say Trustpilot or Reviews.io. They typically have quite a basic setup for gathering feedback, which works, but we can customize those email templates in terms of what is asked and when it sends. But if you're working with tools like Klaviyo as your CRM or ESP, then we can leverage specific events that those users take within your customer base. So, for example, if a customer leaves a negative review with, say, less than 3 stars, we can send them a completely unique email flow versus those that left a 4 and 5-star review. And that allows us to get more out of those customers. And then, Lois, I don't know if you want to take up some of this as well, but make sure you have that debrief and analysis step at the end as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've personally started booking in meetings now for early December to have that kind of time to debrief, because by the time we're in the throes of Black Friday, it's the last thing that anybody's going to want to think about. And I don't know about you guys, but I come out of the back of Black Friday feeling so fatigued that the last thing that I want to do is think about booking in a meeting and talking about it. So get those meetings booked in now. Talk about what worked and what didn't, and what learnings you can apply to the next peak season. Great. Okay, so if you're still left thinking that you're going to struggle to make the most out of this Black Friday season, panic not. Our marketing director, Joseph's on hand to make sure that you've got your ducks in a row, and he's offering free 30-minute consultations to give you personalised advice for your business. So we're on to question time, and there's been a couple of actually really insightful questions from Adela. So first of all, Tom, I'm going to send the first one your way, and that is, what do we think about early discounting? So kind of throughout November, and then improving the offer for the Black Friday weekend. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, firstly, I think early discounting is pretty much needed now. We obviously saw the data in the slides, and pretty much everything that we see or have seen has backed that up as well. You don't want to miss that peak, so discounting early. If again, it comes down to if you can afford to do it and how heavily you can do that. But if you've got all your ducks in a row, as you say, and the numbers shape up, I would just go as early as possible. Don't be precious in Black Friday. Everybody is doing it. I had an email this morning from Richard Sound, for example, a reputable electronics retailer, who said they are shamelessly now basically starting on the 28th of October. So, there's no kind of pushback in terms of should you be the brand to do this or not? Almost everyone is now doing it in some way, shape or form. If you need to go early so that you can maximize that period and maximize the revenue, do it, because the market demand is there. And then the second point, in terms of changing the offer or increasing the offer, was that the question across the potentially? Yes, I'm guessing you wouldn't signpost it because you don't want people coming in. I'd just be aware of people who've come in on a certain offer early in the month, potentially then seeing it again at the end of the month, and you might have some kind of complexities there. But it's a viable strategy to work with. I think as long as you've got something of value to offer, and there's a reasonable offer in there that's competitive and works for you, then stretch it as long as you can, would be my recommendation.
I think I'll just tag on to something that was mentioned there as well. Obviously, if you're running say a tool like Klaviyo as well, you can send out those secondary, tertiary level discounts and actively exclude those that have already purchased within a certain time period. So that could be, say, 14 or 30 days. So that just allows you to send that particular secondary level or third level discount to those that haven't purchased yet, rather than sending it to those that have already purchased and might then be disgruntled at the fact that they didn't get the best discount available.
Thanks, guys. I'm going to jump onto the other question because I'm conscious we've got a minute left of the session. And that was basically talking about tracking and KPIs, and saying that we're seeing a lot of discrepancies between the data we see in GA4 and the data we're seeing in Search Console right now. Where should we be looking for this data? What tools should we be using?
Yeah, I'll jump in on this one. So from a GA4 Google Analytics perspective, I mean, you could be missing anywhere sort of between 15 and 20% of the actual data in terms of visits, even purchase data that's occurring on your stores. So as much as possible, you want to rely on the first party data that's available within your admin of your particular store. And depending on what platform you're on, whether that's Magento, WooCommerce, Shopify, the level of that and the ease of reporting that you'll be presented there will vary. But yeah, as much as you can, you want to focus on that first party data. You mentioned Search Console data, so that kind of implies to me that you're looking at sort of organic traffic that's coming in as well. So often it might be better to make sure that you're looking at a filtered view of that Search Console data as well, making sure you're looking at it for your region, specific pages and specific keywords, because sometimes that default view can give you misleading information. Tom, I don't know if you want to add anything more to that.
Yeah, I mean, most people internally know my thoughts on J4 at this point, as is the wider market. My advice would be avoid putting too much stock in anything that's session level data. That is basically what J4 can see. You really need, as Mark said, you need to be looking at, firstly the bank account, but then kind of the core, CMS metrics, what are the actual numbers that are happening in my business saying? And then you can apply some kind of patterns and trends and correlation from other data sources, but avoid taking things like J4 at session level as gospel, because it has very little bearing on what actually drove a lot of either the traffic or the data or the outcome that is in there. So that would be my advice: is stick to the hard numbers, as Mark said.
So I think we all forget, don't we, that Google Analytics is a free tool, and as such it has its limitations. And if there are other alternatives that our clients want to explore, we're always on hand to make suggestions. So I mean, Adela, if you want to get in touch and have a conversation about different reporting tools, we'd be more than happy to have that chat. I'm really sorry to say we're actually over time by a couple of minutes, so I'm going to have to wrap up the session there. But if you have any further questions, please do get in touch with us. We're all on LinkedIn, or you can email us at mark@tom@ or lois@sozodesign.co.uk. It's been really great to have you today. Thanks so much, and thanks for the questions that you've shared. Keep your eyes on your inboxes for lots of additional resources coming your way: blogs, ebooks, session recordings, and we hope to see you again next time for our next webinar. Thanks so much, guys.